Whatever, let's get on to the video. So here are 5 horrendous car opinions that didn't last. First up, very obvious one, the C7 taillights. Let's go back to 2013 at this car's debut. We're around taillights, oh my gosh, the car is ruined. And it wasn't even just a matter of okay boomer. A lot of young kids are also on board too, calling them Optimus Prime lights and just hating it, saying the entire Corvette legacy was ruined. And it's really cute looking back at that now seeing how ridiculously different the C8 is. Because now that 6 or 7-ish years have passed since then, I can assure you the C7 is one of the most beloved Corvette generations, one of the best selling Corvettes. And people were perfectly fine with the lights, because let's look at why. Have you ever just saw a C6 and a C7 side profile shot? Here's a hint, they're basically the same car still. If you look at them from the front, you can see a logical progression too. The headlights look like a logical progression. The grille is bigger because get over it, it needs more cooling. I don't know why a lot of Corvette purists like what I call the bottom feeder look, where it looks like the Corvette is sniffing the asses of the ground, but I'm fine with the Corvette having a more lifted up, kind of happier look, and some people said it made it too girly. Obviously, we've come to the conclusion, and now that we've learned that it wasn't girly at all, it's manly AF to have a car that can properly cool itself. Big grills is naturally becoming the trend. Even when you look at the quote-unquote controversial rear, the shape of it is literally similar to other Corvettes of the past, the overall curvature, the overall design. Sure, it has a big diffuser. Again, that's moving towards the trend of keeping up with modern supercar performance. It needed that diffuser in order to make downforce. A lot of the Corvette C7's change from the C6 was a logical step up done in the sake of performance, except for the taillights, which was just a design choice, but that's literally the only thing different because, like I said, the rear looked like other Corvette rears, front looked like other Corvette fronts, side looks like other Corvettes, so does the top view, so does the bottom view probably, so it's still a pushrod engine too. Really the only difference is ooh boo-hoo the taillights, so I can't imagine how those same people are probably reacting to the C8, because the C8 on the other hand, because I'm still a little bit on the fences of its design choice, that's a lot to swallow in because it's a whole revamp of the Corvette design. Also, it had horrible line flow, so from an artistic standpoint, it's horrible too, but that's besides the point. Maybe I'll be wrong 10 years from now and everyone thinks I'm the stupid person with a horrendously incorrect car opinion, but the next one is one that I think is still not really, it still lasts, unfortunately. There's still some people who are on the fences about this, including Doug Jamero himself. Hypercar isn't a real term. Alright, to anyone who thinks that, get over yourself. A lot of people who say it are elitists. They're like, look, supercars, that's it. There's no such thing as hypercars. It's just a stupid term made for hype. No, it stands for high performance, not hype. And here's the thing, as time passes, new terms are made for new categories. You want to know what wasn't a word 200 years ago? Car. Because there weren't such things as cars. There were just people used horses. Guess what happens when cars were invented? They had to make a brand new word for it to describe this whole new category of movement, this whole new form of transportation. Then when the Lamborghini Countach was made, they made supercar a term because supercars became a thing and it was followed through with a whole bunch of other supercars. Then, guess what? Hypercars became a thing, so we had to make a brand new category because let's look at the word supercar. It's too liberally applied these days. It's not so much that supercar is losing its status of rarity, it's that supercars themselves are physically being made too much. So it's not a philosophical reason for the word supercar becoming too weak, it's more of a physical reason of so many manufacturers these days are just going balls to the wall and making these supercars. For example, we have the return of the Acura NSX. We have McLaren being more successful than ever. McLaren really was only known for the F1 in the past, but now they're an actual company that cranks out supercars. So it's a whole new company that does it. Lamborghini, Ferrari have still been doing it, still continue to do it, but they are far from alone now. Just think of any video game you've played, any car meet you've been to, any car show that you've been to, especially if you're in LA or Atlanta. Look at how many supercars there are these days. Try not to tell me those aren't supercars. They still are supercars. The term supercar hasn't been devalued. It's the creation of supercars has been valued. So it's just that a lot of companies are putting more emphasis on it nowadays. But because of how liberally it is all over the place, it makes sense that some companies want to take it even further and just said, screw it, let's make hypercars. Let's make really exclusive, really extremely powerful cars like Koenigsegg's and Bugattis. Those are usually your hypercars. To anyone who still thinks it's a stupid term, who still thinks that I want to live in the past of my stupid, only supercar terms, new terms are invented, alright? Terms change as time changes. There are entire languages that exist today that didn't exist in the past. There are entire languages in the past that don't exist today. It's just sounds that we make with our mouths. And if we've decided that hypercar is a logical term that can be appropriately applied to this new category of cars, we're going to use it. Even if that means I have to stand against one of my favorite beloved YouTubers who does not think that's the case. And the funny thing is, Doug himself is now starting to use hypercar more and more. I'm telling you, man, just accept the term, all right? That's how the world moves forward. New terms are made, new things are made. Wide fenders are ugly. I am so glad this is no longer a widely held opinion. There's still some people who think that, but it's really a minority opinion now. So wide body kits are loved these days, and really not too long ago, like I'm talking about a decade or two, a lot of body kits were scrutinized, especially on street cars. Like, they were only okay on trucks. That was the only thing people were okay with them with, for dualies. But for street cars, people just called it pure rice, and it just looked plain stupid. People didn't even like wide body kits on race cars even. They just thought it ruined it and made it look fat and obese, even though in my opinion it makes it low and wide. And a lot of cars from factory that were wide, like the 350Z at the time it came out, they were made fun of for being fat and stubby looking, but funnily enough, in the same way that wide cars weren't in fashion at the time, it was kind of like how thick girls weren't in fashion. But when the thick meme grew, so did the love for thick cars. And I never really knew why skinny and frail was considered fashionable, not just for humans or girls or men or whatever, why that was fashionable for anything, because it also seeped into the vehicle market too, where cars wanted to be skinnier instead of fatter. Look, give me some hips, alright? Not just for style, but for practicality too. When you look at cars like the modern S550 Mustang or the Corvettes, or really any car like the new fair ladies, they have these big, beautiful, wide hips, and those are for fitting big, fat tires that really help you grip on the road. And trust me, that's a very cheap way to get a lot of performance and grip. People really sleep on tires, and they're one of the best way to get performance. And manufacturers realize that. Wow, instead of making super complex suspension systems or adding more power, we can make cars just fly through the corners by just adding thicker tires. And the way we can do that, make thicker hips, give thicker fenders. Luckily, people have caught on to that. Especially American cars were one of the first cars to really just shove as much rubber underneath muscle cars as possible until they could finally turn, and it worked. Now you could even go to Dodge and you can buy cars with a wide body from factory, and I applaud that decision. I think that's an amazing choice for people to have. Aftermarket kits have gotten better than ever too. They're so beautiful looking. Obviously, you still have a really extreme ones like Liberty Walk or Rocket Bunny, but you also have really subtle ones like just simple fender flares, and you could even get ones that are flush and don't have the exposed rivets. Hybrids are GAY. I can't say that because of YouTube's algorithm these days, but this was a really popularly held opinion in the early 2000s and even the late 2000s. But then the holy trinity of hybrids were released, being obviously the McLaren P1, Ferrari LaFerrari, and Porsche 918. When those cars came out and when all three of those cars were hybrids, people kind of just looked at it and were like, oh, so this is a hybrid? That's pretty cool. And I love that. I love that three Halo cars had such a ridiculous footprint that it changed people's entire perception of the word hybrid. Now when you say the word hybrid, it actually comes with a level of respect and difference, so much so that a lot of other supercars are even trying to chase after it as a status symbol of sorts. And I think that's awesome. I personally would never own a hybrid, but I'm not laughing at them anymore. Gone are those days where we just picture some guy in a Prius as the first thought of hybrid. The real reason it sucked to begin with was just bad marketing. Like, seriously, who was the asshat who designed the Prius? Why is it so ugly? You're not being some avant-garde designer. You're just having your sticks shoved too far up your ass. You're just some stupid hipster. Why was it the Prius? Seriously, why was that the one that rose to popularity at the start? There were so many other cool hybrid cars that could have gotten the spotlight and then become popular, then sold in the millions, and then made a better demographic, made a better appearance for the hybrid. But unfortunately, the ugliest one that wasn't even that great, that wasn't even that groundbreaking, became the most popular one, the Prius. And with it brought a lot of hate. Guys, it took 3 hypercars, the holy trinity, to fix the Prius's mistake and what it did to the word hybrid. That's how bad the Prius was. But luckily it has been fixed and people are fine with hybrids now. But that's insane that it took the best of the best from the most prestigious prestige companies to fix all the damage dealt by one derpy little Toyota. The S550 Mustang is too curvy. Oh no, how dare manufacturers become sleeker and sleeker in pursuit of aerodynamics. Look, I get it, you love your big old driving bricks with awful gas mileage, it's the thing of a muscle car. I personally love muscle cars. I do have a lot of respect for the previous generation, the S197, because it's the final blocky, big, muscular Mustang, but from a dimension standpoint, that car was actually smaller, and that's what blew my mind each time I drove Callie around. Whenever I took her to car meets and parked next to a previous generation Mustang, I realized they were smaller than me. Despite being curvier, I still think it's a pony car, it's fine. And like I said, it was mostly done for aerodynamics because, yeah, we can't just keep making driving bricks. Gone are those days, alright? We've got to move forward. And personally, it's a cool challenge. How much of a muscle car can you make still look bulky, strong, muscular, while being sleek, curvy, and edgy? And it makes for a unique design. And luckily, this opinion has not lasted at all. In fact, in the first few years, it already dissipated. Like in 2014, prior to its release, a lot of people said it was the ugliest, girliest Mustang ever. But then in 2015, 16, those opinions dwindled, and now it's just everyone loves it. Like, it's gotten so accepted as one of the greatest Mustangs to ever be made. Even the facelift got some good attention, even though I still personally don't like the facelift, but I can respect it. And with that, we're going to conclude this video. And I know there are a lot of other horrendous car opinions that also didn't last or stand the test of time. And if you've got some, put them in the comment sections down below. I might make a part 2. Other than that, thank you guys for watching and enjoy the holidays. See y'all next time. Bladed Angel out.